So there was this massive, high-profile state visit recently that's really marking a whole new chapter for India and Israel. You see, their relationship has been called a strategic partnership for a while now, but it just got a major upgrade to a special strategic partnership. But what does that label really mean? Let's dig in. In a pretty rare address to the Israeli Knesset, India's prime minister didn't just talk about modern politics. He framed this whole moment in the grand sweep of history. This quote right here, it really sets the tone. It's about a partnership built on thousands of years of connections, now being supercharged for the 21st century. Okay, so beyond all the handshakes and the historic speeches, a whole series of major agreements were actually signed. They lay out a concrete blueprint for the future. So the big question is, what's actually inside this new special partnership? Let's break it all down. So to really get what this special strategic partnership is all about, we've got to look at the foundations it's built on. And as you're about to see, those foundations are both ancient and, at the same time, incredibly modern. What's really striking when you look at this timeline is just how deep these connections go. I mean, we're talking about references to India, or Hadu, in ancient Jewish texts. Then you jump forward to shared military history in World War I, and then India formally recognizing Israel in 1950. But then look at the acceleration in just the last few years. The first ever visit by an Indian PM in 2017, and now, boom, this landmark upgrade. Now, there's a really crucial policy shift that makes this entire visit possible. It's called de-hyphenation. For decades, India's relationship with Israel was kind of tied at the hip to its relationship with Palestine. Well, this new policy changes that. It means India now deals with each of them totally independently, on their own terms. And that's why this was a standalone visit to Israel, which, in the world of diplomacy, is a pretty big deal. All right, let's jump into the first, and you could argue the most significant pillar of this partnership: defense and security. To really get a sense of the scale we're talking about, just look at this number. We're hearing reports that defense deals worth up to $10 billion are on the table. This isn't just some minor transaction, right? This is a massive strategic investment from both sides. And this chart, it tells you everything you need to know. Data from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute makes it crystal clear. India is, by a huge margin, Israel's single largest defense customer. We're talking over a third of its total arms exports. That creates a really deep strategic interdependence. So what is India actually getting for all that money? Well, a key goal is this incredibly ambitious plan called Mission Sudarshan Chakra. It's named after the divine weapon of the Hindu god Vishnu, and the goal is to build a multi-layered, almost unbreakable air defense shield. This means getting some of Israel's most famous, most advanced tech, from the Iron Dome to the super futuristic Iron Beam laser system. But here's the thing. This is where the relationship is really changing. It's moving beyond just a simple buyer-seller situation. The new focus is all about co-development and joint manufacturing. And that fits perfectly with India's self-reliant India policy, which is all about building up its own domestic defense industry, but doing it with Israeli tech and know-how. And underpinning all of this is a shared perspective on security. The joint statement they released leaves zero room for doubt. Both leaders strongly condemned terrorism in all its forms, and they specifically mentioned recent attacks, including the October 7th attack on Israel and attacks in India, really reinforcing this idea that they're in this fight together. Okay, so moving on from defense, the second major pillar of this special partnership is built on something else entirely: technology and trade. And it's all about leveraging the unique strengths of both economies. And honestly, this slide just lays it out perfectly. The joint statement even calls it a perfect complement. You've got India bringing its huge pool of talent, its massive manufacturing scale, and just this raw entrepreneurial energy. And then you have Israel, the famous startup nation, bringing its world-class R&D, its genius for innovation, and its deep tech powerhouse status. So what does this actually mean for, regular people and businesses? Well, one of the most concrete things to come out of this is a plan to link India's revolutionary UPI payment system with Israel's. For people on the ground, this means seamless, real-time digital payments between the two countries. It just makes business, tourism, and investment so much easier. Both sides are also pushing hard to get a new free trade agreement done, and they're calling it modern, comprehensive, and future-ready. The idea here is to boost trade across a huge range of sectors, everything from traditional stuff like machinery and textiles to the new frontiers like digital trade and advanced tech. And this is so important because it shows this whole economic partnership is about way more than just, selling stuff to each other. The real ambition is joint innovation in these cutting-edge fields that are going to define our future: AI, semiconductors, quantum computing. And they're building the institutions to support it, like a planned joint center of excellence in cybersecurity. So, with all that said, what's the big picture? Where is this all heading in the long run? Well, beyond the specific deals, there's a real long-term vision. Let's look at the initiatives that are basically the blueprint for the future of this relationship. You see, this partnership isn't happening in a vacuum. It's being plugged into these much larger frameworks. We're seeing huge projects like the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor and strategic groups like I2U2, which brings India, Israel, the UAE, and the US together. And on the people side, we're talking about tens of thousands more Indian workers in Israel, new academic forums, and expanding the really successful agricultural centers. And hey, you can't have a strong partnership without the people-to-people stuff, right? Prime Minister Modi's lighthearted meeting with the cast of that hugely popular Israeli show Fauda just captures this growing cultural connection perfectly. It's a small thing, but it's a sign that this relationship is about more than just government meetings. It's getting into popular culture too. Okay, so we've looked at the history, the massive defense deals, the economic plans. What's the bottom line here? What's the main takeaway from this new special strategic partnership? This table really breaks it down perfectly. Strategically, it's about shifting to a long-term alignment, not just one-off deals. Economically, it's this perfect synergistic combo of India's scale and Israel's innovation. And historically, the whole thing is grounded in these ancient civilizational roots that give the modern partnership a kind of depth and resilience you don't see everywhere. And that leaves us with this final, really crucial question. As these two major powers, one a rising economic giant, the other a tech and military powerhouse, get closer and closer, you have to ask, what are the ripple effects going to be? How might this partnership start to redraw the entire strategic map, not just for the Middle East, but for all of Asia? It's definitely something to think about.